information, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks!
What are you?
Greetings and salutations to you. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show. We introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes, joining us from any and all corners of the nerd universe. We have friendly conversations and find out what plans they have for the future. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. I am your host, and our guest this week is a veteran comic book writer, editor extraordinaire. Please welcome Charles Santino. Charles, welcome to the program. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
And thank you for being with us. If you have any questions for our guest, Charles Santino, at any point during the course of the show, leave it in the comments, leave it in the live chat. Our producers are going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of the show. So to start things off here, Charles, what were some of your favorite books or writers growing up?
Growing up, first book that I remember reading and really being intrigued by was Jules Verne. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I don't know if anybody younger than 40 knows who Jules Verne is. I don't think, well, let's see, movies that have been made from his books. There was a Time Machine movie within the last, 20 years, maybe some others, but he was an early science fiction writer, and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea really intrigued me. Much later, got into a lot of science fiction, and then mysteries and crime novels, Jim Thompson, Donald Westlake, other crime writers.
Oh, there you go. Excellent choices. And yes, I am familiar with Jules Verne. I may have read a book of his. Also, I've seen some adaptations of his books in film, whether it be the original Time Machine from the 1950s or the many references that were made to Jules Verne during the events of Back to the Future Part 3, because Dr. Emmett Brown is a big fan of Jules Verne. So
there you go, keeping it alive.
It is, and it very much so is doing that. So, but great choices, no question about it. Now, when did you decide to become a writer yourself?
Probably when I was 13 or so. I was into Little League and police boys athletic club, and loved baseball, and thought I want to pitch for the Yankees. And then puberty hit, and that really separated the men from the boys. And I realized, okay, I'm not going to be a professional athlete. I'm not going to pitch for the Yankees. I think I'll write comic books. So, I wrote and drew, laughably, my own stuff when I was a teenager, as so many people did, and didn't really do much with it after that. And then in college, I met a guy who wanted to be an artist, and we did some comic strips for the school paper, and these would have been Conan inspired stuff, and I ended up writing Conan professionally a little bit later. But I would say, answering the original question, 13 or 14, so decided this is something I can do. I don't have to have huge muscles to write a comic book about guys with huge muscles.
There you go. What would you say have been some of the biggest rewards of being a writer?
Well, seeing your stuff on a newsstand, I think is pretty amazing. When I was doing Conan, there still were newsstands. And Conan at the time was selling 100,000 copies a month. Now, that sounds like a lot of comics, but that was actually the borderline cutoff for cancellation of a Marvel comic in the late 80s. If it was 100,000 or less, Marvel was probably going to cancel it. Mm-hmm. Conan might have even had a slightly lower threshold because there was a licensing fee that came along with Conan, so there was a little bit more expense for Marvel. But yeah, 100,000 copies at that time, every newsstand in the country. Today, if you sell 100,000 copies, you are probably the #1 comic for that month.
Wow. My goodness. That is,
So that was the excitement. The excitement. Well, I guess
yeah.
previously the excitement was actually selling something. The first thing I
Mhm.
sold to Marvel was a pastiche
Mhm.
of Jack London's Alaskan type stories. He's
Oh,
in the
yeah.
public domain, so I could have adapted it, but Larry Hama didn't want at Marvel. He didn't want adaptation, so I did a pastiche, and it was an Alaskan adventure story, and it showed up in Savage Tales, not the Conan version of Savage Tales, but the Men's Adventure version, anthology version of Savage Tales. So selling that story to Marvel, uh, pretty exciting. Then seeing stuff on the newsstands, even more exciting. And you got to deal with a lot of rejection in this business. And for everything I've sold, there's probably, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, maybe 20 to 25 stories or pitches of some kind that were not accepted.
Oh my goodness gracious. My goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Now, if you turn things around a little bit, what would you say are some of the challenges of being a writer?
For me, not coming up with ideas is not never been a problem. I kind of understand writer's block. I've never really had it, and I'm very thankful for that. I guess the challenge would be the biggest challenge is figuring out what to do next of all the many ideas that you might have at any one time. Figuring out how to prioritize, figuring out what do I need to be working on next, what do I need to be pushing, and what should I leave aside. And there have been many times that I have just been banging my head against a wall trying to do something that was simply not going to work, and for whatever reason, and realizing I need to put this aside and work on something that's going to work. I have certain projects that I've been trying to get done, and particularly in the world of adaptations. There's a young adult novel, maybe even a children's novel. I don't know what it would be categorized now, and I won't give the name of it. But I've been trying to get this adapted for probably close to 10 years. And that one I'm not going to put aside. I'm not going to give up on. But there have been many others where I've just had to say, okay, this is not going to happen. I need to move on to something that might work. So figuring out how to prioritize what to do next and how to do it, though, that's the biggest challenge for me.
Oh, I see. I see. Once again, we're talking with comic book writer, editor extraordinaire Charles Santino. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 600 of your friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching our videos. I guarantee it. If you have any questions for Charles, feel free to leave them in the live chat, leave them in the comments. We will get to those as they come in. Now, Charles, something that's a bit more recent, and I'm very curious to hear how this all came about. You have Rammur. Rammur #1 is out. So tell someone who may be watching this, who is Rammur? What's this all about? And how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, the first thing we need to show is the real cover, which is very similar to what you're showing, but a little bit different in that it's part 1, not #1 of the Corvus trilogy. And the publisher and I decided this was going to be marketed a little bit differently. It is square bound instead of saddle stitched. So it's really a mini graphic novel. The first 3 issues will have stories that are loosely connected. And how Rammur came about, boy, I've been working on versions of this character for probably 25 years. And Joe Staton did the first version of the character. Andrew Wendel did the second, and Paulo Peres the third and final version. They all get credit because they all contributed. And what really was the impetus was I mentioned Donald Westlake when we were backstage as an influence on me as a writer. Did I mention him on the air or backstage? I can't remember. Either way, Donald Westlake, crime writer, does some humorous stuff and some rather grim stuff. But I had the shopping rights to his only science fiction novel, I contacted him right around the time that Darwin Cook contacted him about doing his Parker novels.
Oh, wow.
And so I was shopping around the science fiction novel and not getting any traction. Meanwhile, the Parker books by Darwin Cook came out, and I thought, oh, this would be a really good idea. I will approach IDW and get Joe Staton to redraw the proposal in the manner of the Darwin Cook style. And we pitched it to IDW, and I got a call from the editor 15 minutes after I sent him the email with the proposal. And he said, this is beautiful. It's fantastic. It's wonderful. We can't publish it. I said, why not? He said, because it would hurt our relationship with Darwin. And I said, well, I don't understand that. I think this would fit right in with what you're doing and expand the line. And unfortunately, I didn't know about Darwin's reputation for rage. So I got his contact information, and I contacted him thinking he hadn't even seen it. Well, he had seen it, and boy, did he give me an earful. In no uncertain terms, he tore me a new one. He said, you guys are ripping me off, and but a lot of 4-letter words were spewing forth. And he said, this will never be published. And he then contacted the Westlake estate and made sure that my rights to the novel were not renewed. They were coming up for renewal within a month. And so that got pulled out from under me. So I decided, well, why don't I do my own tough guy story? And this way I'll own it and I'll control it, and I won't need to get the rights from anybody. And so I figured Rammur, I'll pull him out of mothballs, dust him off, give him a new outfit, and see what happens. And I pitched him to Markosia. I had already published 2 projects with Markosia. This was the 3rd, and it was accepted, and now it's out.
Oh my goodness. Well, congratulations on that. Wish you well with it moving forward. Now, to give you who may be watching this just a little bit more of an idea of who Rammur is, what the story is about, and all that good stuff, let's show you this. Take a look at this and enjoy. My goodness, that is incredible. Looks fantastic. I got some. How should I put this? It's a mixture of RoboCop, a little bit of Dread, and like Heat. All those elements kind of combined into one. Did you get any influence from like past works or past movies such as those?
Certainly, Judge Dredd. I think of Rammur as a Judge Dredd perp. Except I think he would probably kick Judge Dredd's ass, and I think he's a more interesting character than Judge Dredd. But I'm hugely influenced by the 2000 AD family of characters, including Judge Dredd. The other influence from an artistic visual point of view with the 90s Batman and other characters that were done as a tie-in to the animated stuff. And that was the art style that I was looking for. And I found Paulo Peres, who's based in Brazil. He's my main artist, and he was able to really capture that style pretty nicely.
Man, that is incredible. It looks great. I had an opportunity to sit down and read the first part of the story. I like it. It's good. It's dark. It's gritty. It's, you know, and you mentioned this before. He's a badass. He doesn't let anything stop him from getting what he wants and stuff of that nature. I'm intrigued. I look forward to seeing where the story goes moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. It's on Indiegogo right now. The campaign is over, but it's in demand. So for people who are not familiar with what that means, it's a store. Now it's available. Not all the perks that were available during the campaign are there, but the main perks are. And if you go to Indiegogo and type in Rammur, Rammur, you'll see it there. Yeah, it's a PG-13, you know, a teen plus, whatever the rating would be. There is some violence, but it's not gory. There's a little bit of blood. Cuss words are probably going to be limited to hell and damn. Any sex is going to take place off camera and be mostly implied, and there's no nudity. So this is perfectly fine for 13 plus or teen plus.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Any special memories from being at conventions, whether you're there selling your works or you are there as an attendee?
Well, yeah, the Comic-Con in New York City that just took place was the first time that this was available. I didn't have a table, but I was walking around, and the reception to it was very enthusiastic. I managed to unload quite a few copies, and people were pretty excited to see it. And I will continue to market it. Right now, the best way to get it is to go to Indiegogo. If anybody wants to reach out to me directly and has questions or want something above and beyond what they see there, they can contact me. There will be some merchandise upcoming. Right now, there's a poster available, and the propaganda poster that appears in the book right there.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that propaganda poster is available as one of the perks. It's going to be available separately. That was done by an artist who's now calling himself Trashy Dreams. He's based in New York City. He will be doing a propaganda poster in the second issue as well, and he'll have a story in the second issue. And that also brings up what is in the second half of the book. There's a comic book within the comic book, and I'll hold that up. Topps Tales of the Police State.
Oh, yes.
These are very short, funky little depressing alternative comics type stories about tales in the police state. They are set in Rammur's universe, but they don't involve Rammur. They involve characters that we'll probably never see again. The first story is only 2 pages. The second story is 4 pages. They're self-contained. And then in the back of the book is a making of section called Steps. Step by step, how the book is created. There are some model sheets that Paulo did, and step by step how the splash page was created. So people are not familiar with the production of comics can see how a comic is made today.
Yeah,
it's obviously all digital. I never touch any of the artwork. It's just emailed to me or Dropbox to me.
Oh, awesome. Fair enough. Great stuff. Looks fantastic. A little bit of spin-off stories give people a better idea of the universe that Rammur is being set in. Absolutely. What advice would you give to aspiring writers out there?
Do it. Just keep writing and eventually you'll get to something good. You got to get all the garbage out of your system. The first thing you'll probably do is simply imitate directly things that you like, and hopefully you find your own voice. I think that you need to satisfy yourself and not try to satisfy a particular audience. I think I always try to write something that if I were to see it on a book stand, book rack, comic book store, I would grab it. Something that is going to interest me. That the advice I would give is do it a lot and make sure you're doing something that you're interested in doing, so that when you sit down, you're not saying, oh God, here we go again. I have to write something that a certain type of audience is going to like. No, you're writing it to amuse and entertain yourself. But there are certain rules. There's a great book out there called How to Write Plots That Sell. It's completely out of print, but very cheap on eBay and other book outlets. How to Write Plots That Sell, for any kind of fiction writer, comics or otherwise.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. We do appreciate it. Great pieces of advice there. Once again, we're talking with Charles Santino, comic book writer and editor. If you have any questions for him, leave them in the comments, leave them in the live chat. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 500 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it.
Yeah, let me, I do want to give the summary of the story, because we've said a lot about this guy, except what is the story about?
Oh, sure.
So
Please, go ahead.
here's the summary of the story.
Mm-hmm.
A museum heist gone wrong. 2 thieves dead. Rammur's fusion gear damaged. The target of the break-in, a banned object of art, destroyed. But that's just the beginning of Rammur's problems, because one of his colleagues is a police informant. Can Rammur figure out who's tipping off the cops before he finds himself in a global Freedom Authority labor camp? So there's a couple of hints as to what the future is like. There is a police state that runs everything. They run the globe, and it's actually not as bad a place to live as many police states, because they figured out cheap hydrogen power. So energy is almost free at this point. So the biggest cost that any economy, any country, any society has is energy, and that's been settled. Rammur's fusion gear uses hydrogen power to give him the power for his blasters and the leg jets. And it's something that he can take on and off. We see him sometimes in some stories without the gear, because I think that although the gear is important to him, he's more important than the gear. So that's why I made sure the first issue shows him with and without the gear.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Get a better idea of who the character is in and out of outfits. Perfectly understandable is what I'm trying to say. Now, if for some reason, somewhere down the line, when this story has concluded and things have been, it's been out, it's been made available to buy and read and all that stuff. What if somebody came to you and said, I want to adapt this into a TV series or a movie? Would you want them to do it? And if so, would you prefer it be live action, animated? And if you had the option, who would you want to cast as Rammur?
I see it animated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if they look at the comic, and certainly if they look at that video, I think the heavy lifting has been done for them. Mm-hmm. As far as casting, as far as voices, I have no idea. Obviously, it doesn't matter what the person looks like if it's going to be a vocal performance. So yeah, as far as live action, that would be today with the technology they have to make movies. It certainly wouldn't be a challenge in terms of technology. Certainly would be a challenge in terms of casting and writing. And one of the things that I would be afraid that they would do, which I would hate to see, is give him an origin. There's no origin story for Rammur. He just exists. I tried to make him so interesting you don't care about anything that happened before the story that you're reading, unless it relates directly to the story that you're reading.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right, sounds good. Are there any writers or artists you would like to collaborate with somewhere down the line that you haven't had the chance to do so yet?
That's a good question. One of my favorite artists, unfortunately, just passed away, Richard Corbin, who a lot of people maybe not familiar with him because he never had a long run on a superhero comic. He did do a Hulk story. He did do a Punisher story. The Punisher story for whatever reason, not particularly popular with Punisher fans, but I enjoyed Richard Corbin's Punisher story. Richard Corbin would certainly be one. I would say some of the artists that did stories for the original Batman animated stuff, Rick Burchett in particular, I think is my favorite of those artists. I'd love to work with him. And some of the other artists that are working in or can work in that animated style. There's a lot of artists that don't work in that style that can. I ran into an artist in New York at the convention who I was very interested in his portfolio, and I said, "Can you draw in this style?" And I showed him Rammur, and he immediately got his phone out and showed me some stuff he had done that was sort of in that style. And he said he loves to draw in that style. So I'm happy about picking this style for Rammur because I think there are so many artists that can draw in that style and love to. And I do have a, excuse me, I do have a list of artists that nobody's heard of that can draw in that style that I'm kind of keeping in my pocket for when I need further artists. But Paulo Peres has been doing a great job as the main artist. Marco Perugini as the backup artists. Some of the other artists in the book are Carlos Aon. He is in Argentina. Trashy Dreams. He's in New York. And Dave Barden. He did the Topps cover. I think he's out. I think he's out in California. So my tastes are pretty eclectic, but if people look through Rammur, I think they'll get a pretty good idea of what appeals to me.
Oh, well, there you go. No problem. No problem with that whatsoever. I know there's and we live in an era now where comic book adaptations into movies or TV series, they're everywhere. They are flooding the streaming services. They are flooding the local cineplexes. That is for sure. I'm just curious, are there any upcoming adaptations that you're excited to see on the big screen, whether they be from DC, Marvel, or Independence?
Probably not. I was actually a fan of the most of the X-Men movies, where those do not seem to be the favorites of people who are into the superhero movies. I saw the first of most of the Marvel movies, and I thought some of them had their moments, but they didn't really grab me the way the first few X-Men movies did. Another influence that I want to mention is, and this is something that I don't know if people are familiar with, but Magnus Robot Fighter, which was published originally by Gold Key in the 60s, and then more recently by, I think it was Valiant, and then maybe, I'm not sure who has the rights now, maybe Dark Horse. But I did find that I had Rammur up against robots in virtually every story. And I realized that comic may have been more of an influence on me than I had thought of. And so I told Paulo, go take a look at that stuff online, and don't rip off any of the robot designs, but just get some ideas from what's out there. And he's done a good job at coming up with some very interesting robot designs.
Learn something new every day in this world. So thank you for sharing that with us. If you have any questions for Charles or in any portion of the show, feel free to leave them in the live chat, leave them in the comments. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 500 of your friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this. I guarantee it. Is there any, outside of Rammur, is there any comic book character that you would like to see be adapted into a TV series or a movie that hasn't been adapted yet?
Well, Magnus Robot Fighter would be pretty interesting. That's, science fiction, future robot, stuff like that. The first Hellboy movie I thought was pretty good. That's already been done. As far as other characters, good question. The Judge Dredd movie that came out a while back, that was really good.
2012 with Carl Urban.
Yeah, and thank God he never took the helmet off.
Never.
I knew when they cast Stallone in the original movie, I just shook my head and I said, "Okay, that helmet's coming off in the first 10 minutes, and it's never going back on." And that was pretty much what happened. Other characters, boy. Steve Ditko did some stuff for Charlton that is now owned by DC Comics, particularly the Blue Beetle. The Blue Beetle was a character that I really liked when Ditko did it. I don't think Blue Beetle has shown up in any DC movies yet. I don't think so, but that would be an interesting one. And I always see these things in my mind's eye animated rather than live action, because some of these live action movies, most of them now, have so much computer generated stuff, and a lot of it doesn't work. If computer animation and generated images can make you forget that they're computer generated, then it works. But when you're looking at it and going, that's obviously computer generated and it doesn't look that slick, then it takes me right out of the movie. So I would like to see more just purely animated, just traditionally animated movies that are not live action, but they are completely animated.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. Just to give you a bit of an example, I saw the most recent trailer for the upcoming film Ghostbusters Afterlife, and they showed all the different ghosts that are going to be in the film. Of course, all of these ghosts are going to be CGI. They're going to be special effects written, but there's a tribute to the original movie where they have I don't remember the exact term, but like they're hellhounds from Gozer from the first film. And when I saw the hellhounds, I'm thinking, that's CGI. I can tell exactly that that's fake, and I don't even need to be, the age that I am now. I can completely understand that that's fake. It's because in the original film, they did use, to a certain extent, practical effects for the hellhounds and even Gozer. And I'm thinking, why would you go to? I know CGI is like a faster, somewhat budgetary way to do it, but at the same time, why not bring them back as practical effects? I miss when movies do that with practical effects. They did it with Ghostbusters. They did it with The Never-Ending Story. They did it with a lot of films in the 80s had a lot of practical effects for that particular time period. But when I saw this trailer and I'm seeing the hellhounds come back, they're scary. Don't get me wrong, but it's CGI. It's boring. It's like, where's the practical effects? Because they creeped me out when I was a kid, when I first saw the original Ghostbusters from 1984. Just saying. So yeah, I completely understand where you're coming from. You want to keep some of these things animated because it's better that way, it's easier that way, and also you put something in CGI, it's so easy to tell what's fake and what's not.
There are two moments of CGI from movies that otherwise I wasn't crazy about that were utterly convincing to me and absolutely perfect. One was Reign of Fire.
Oh.
With the dragons.
Yeah, that was was it Christian Bale or Matthew McConaughey involved in that?
The last showdown at the end of the movie with that dragon, where it's just sort of crawling almost on the ground.
Sure.
That scene, you forget it's CGI. That one scene was utterly convincing and perfect to me. It lasts maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And then in War of the Worlds, the one with Tom Cruise.
Oh yes, from 2005, from Spielberg.
Yeah, after it comes up out of the ground, the Martian walker comes up out of the ground in Brooklyn, I believe, and it's walking through the streets and killing people. And Tom Cruise runs and he hides behind the corner of a building, and he's looking around the corner. And you see the walker walking by at a distance of several hundred yards. And it was a little bit hazy, just like it would be in real life, with a little bit of haze. And it really, that moment, and it lasts just a few seconds, is really the stuff of nightmares. Utterly and absolutely convincing, that one shot. But these are the exceptions that prove the rule that CGI so many times it just doesn't work, because you're just saying that's CGI. If it needs to make you forget that that's what you're looking at.
That's very true. It's to a degree, it takes me out of the movie. If I see too much CGI, I'm going to realize I know why they're doing this, but at the same time, why you're taking me out of the movie? I can't believe this is real. Like, come on, I can tell what's blue in a green screen perspective.
I'll give you another.
I think at this point, I could probably tell respectively.
I'll give you another example. Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
Yes, that movie. The final scene was pretty chilling and pretty convincing, because what they were trying to do with the CGI was so limited to what they could do. Another example that comes to mind is Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson.
Oof. Creepy stuff there.
Yeah, a movie I saw twice in the theaters and once on twice on disc, once on DVD, and then once on Blu-ray. And the special effects there are very limited, but absolutely convincing. And what a great movie it is! It's so good that the least interesting thing about the movie is Scarlett Johansson full frontal nude. That is, I mean, that you get to see that, but it's really not the reason to see the movie, because it is such a great movie and so frightening. And also, you want to talk about visual storytelling, it's almost a silent movie, because the dialogue that's in it, a lot of it you can't even understand, because the Scottish actors, many of whom didn't know they were in a movie.
Oh my gosh.
So Scarlett Johansson is driving around in this dark wig in this van, picking guys up, and they didn't know they were in a movie, and they didn't recognize her. And afterwards, they were told, "Oh, do you want to be in this movie? If you do, we'll use your scene. You need to sign a release." Some people said no. Others said, "Yeah, fine." But their Scottish accents are so thick that you really can't understand what they're saying. It doesn't matter. The dialogue in that movie, it doesn't matter.
Goodness gracious. Maybe I might have to take a look at this, because I know of the film, but I haven't seen it particularly. I've only seen the trailer and the promos for it, because there's a lot of films I've unfortunately have missed out on the last number of years, and I apologize for that. I'm trying to catch up as best I can, but I might have to add that to my list.
This is the greatest movie that Stanley Kubrick never made.
That's could be a fair point. That's not going to sugarcoat that one. There you go. My goodness, and if you don't mind, just to go back for just one moment, you mentioned something about the original X-Men films. What is your favorite X-Men movie that's ever been made up to this point?
Oh boy, I like the first three of them. I think I liked equally, although even people who liked the first two didn't really like the third one very much.
Because of how they handled the whole Dark Phoenix saga, which in a way I understand, but for me, I didn't really have an issue with it, because yes, I grew up on the original animated series of 1992, but at the same time, movies are different from TV shows, just like comic books are different from TV shows. It's all different mediums, so there's only so much you can tell in a 2-hour film.
Yeah, and the first one that went back to the 60s, the name of which I forget.
I believe that's X-Men First Class.
Yes, I enjoyed the first one of those. So the first three, and then the first of First Class, I enjoyed them. I understand it's a matter of taste. People had problems with those movies. I didn't. I liked them very much. I like them. I like them much more than the MCU movies. The first Spider-Man and the first and second Spider-Mans, I like very much too. I thought that Dr. Octopus was a great villain.
Alfred Molina, great actor.
The special effects there again work great, because all you're doing is those arms, and so that worked just fine. Yeah. And perfect casting.
Alfred Molina, guy's a beast.
Yep.
No puns intended, Alfred. By the way, did you know that Alfred is back as Doc Ock for Spider-Man No Way Home?
Yes.
Got that big jaw-dropping moment at the end of the trailer. Hello, Peter. I'm like, whoa. Like, Alfred Molina, have you aged in 20 years? I don't really think so. I mean, maybe they're using CGI on your face, but I don't know. Hasn't really aged today. Great job, Alfred. I'll give credit where credit is due. I'm not going to mess around with that one. And yes, I agree. I enjoy a lot of the X-Men films, the original 2 Spider-Man films. Love those movies to pieces. Some people are more fans of different iterations of the character. That's fine. I mean, it's all subjective, but for me, the originals are just, they hold a special place in certain people's hearts, and I respect that. I really do. So no question about that one. Now, who would you say are some of your favorite writers of today, whether they be comic writers or novel writers? What do you think?
Writers of today. Good question. I have no answers for you. I don't really have any favorite comic book writers. I think that comics have gotten way off track. And I can't really name favorites of either. Donald Westlake has been dead more than 10 years now. I'm still catching up with a lot of his books. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to disappoint you with a total cop out on an answer for that one.
That's okay. That's okay. But if you have any questions for Charles, leave them in the comments, leave them in the live chat. We'll be taking those as they come in throughout the course of the show. So, Charles, our next set of questions are going to be a bit fun. We shall see how it goes. Every episode of And I Quote, including this episode of And I Quote, is powered by Pod Decks. Pod Decks are the hottest new tool for podcasters looking to have more meaningful conversations or gamify their podcasts. Simply shuffle them up. You ask a question, let the content roll. Get yours today at poddecks.com. Make sure you use the promo code NERDCULTURE to get 10% off your order. It's a great offer, so don't miss it. Don't miss out on this. So, Charles, what specific work of art do you admire the most?
Specific work of art. I have an answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to say it's a tie between two paintings by Frank Frazetta.
Ah, yes.
Catgirl.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's called Conan the Destroyer. I'm not sure. He's swinging an axe and killing a bunch of warriors who are attacking him. Catgirl is the naked woman in the forest with the jungle cats around her. Just saw that in the oils at the Frazetta Museum in Pennsylvania, and it's quite mesmerizing to stand in front of his stuff, see what it actually looks like on the canvas. But yeah, works of art. Movies are certainly art, books are certainly art, but when you said art, visual artwork came to mind, and so those two Frank Frazetta paintings.
Wow. And where in Pennsylvania is this place located?
That it would be in East Stroudsburg, which is kind of in the upper, let's see, that would be the northeastern corner of Pennsylvania, not too far from New Jersey.
Oh, well, there you go. Just to give you an idea of, visually, like where this place would be if people want to visit it and see these works of art respectively. Yeah. That's good. All right, good.
There's another Frazetta museum in Florida, and that I believe is in Boca Raton, and that is run by his granddaughter. Sarah. Yeah.
Sarah. Okay. Wow. All right. Awesome. More great tourist attractions I should probably visit, because here I'm not too far from PA. I'm in the state of Maryland. So there you go. So something for me to look forward to as we go down the line. Now, let me see here. Quick sidebar here. When it comes to Conan the Barbarian, which is the better film, The Barbarian or Conan the Destroyer with Schwarzenegger?
Neither.
No, okay. Didn't work for you. That's fine.
No,
hey, listen, some people like them, some people don't. It's fine.
Just film the stories. Just take one of the stories and film it. But casting is very, very difficult because, Schwarzenegger, Conan was not built that way. Conan is built like a linebacker, not like a bodybuilder. Bodybuilders are built a certain way. Mm-hmm. They can't run, they can't jump, they can't twist about, they're not athletic, they're just big. And that's not Conan. Conan's described in many of the stories as being panther-like. I can't imagine Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan climbing a wall.
Yeah. So I take it the remake with Jason Momoa didn't do that property any favors either.
He's better cast, but it might be the toughest job you have in casting. To find somebody who looks the part and can act, very, very difficult. Very difficult. The Rock is a better fit, although ethnically he's not right, but he's more convincing in that Scorpion God.
The Scorpion King, yeah.
The Scorpion King, yeah. He's more convincing than Conan as that kind of character.
Oh,
but he's not. He's obviously not perfect, because Conan should look like a a white guy from the northern wastes, but with black hair and piercing blue eyes.
Hollywood, are you listening? Take notes.
No, they're not. No, they're not listening. It's because they have no respect. They have zero respect for the source material.
No, you're right. You're right. I was just throwing that out there as my poor attempt at a joke. I apologize, but yeah. Look, I mean, aside from the Scorpion King that The Rock did back in 2002, that was like his second film after he did the quick cameo in The Mummy Returns from 2001, respectively. Dwayne Johnson's going to be playing Black Adam now in DC.
That could be okay.
So that's coming out next year. I believe it's coming out next year. If I'm not mistaken, that's what it said at the end of the trailer during the events of DC Fandom, which, by the way, just call it fandom. The whole name thing is a bit strange to me, but I understand where they're going with as far as a marketing standpoint is concerned, but whatevs. Anywho.
He'd be good for Rammur. Live action.
Oh, well, yeah. I would, absolutely. I mean, he's the people's champ. I mean, Dwayne Johnson, you listening to this? I hope you are, because Rammur could be coming on your desk some point.
Rammur is ethnically ambiguous, so
there's that too.
He's drawn so simply in the comic, and his skin is not, his skin is kind of, I don't know, dark tan, light brown. Who knows? But you could definitely get away with casting The Rock.
I'd like to see that. I'm a big fan of The Rock. I mean, most people are, but still, I digress. Anywho, if you, Charles, specifically were a bartender, which famous person would you like to serve?
I don't know if he drinks, but probably Christopher Walken.
Oh yeah, these knees, capajamas. Yeah, I mean, guys, it was great, but I could have used a little more cowbell.
Now, Christopher Walken was taught dancing by the same woman who taught my mother dancing when she was a very young girl.
Get out of here.
Yes, in Queens, I believe, maybe Manhattan, but definitely New York City. But I don't know why Christopher Walken comes to mind as somebody I'd like to serve as a bartender, and hopefully he drinks, because then the fantasy lives.
Yeah, could have a few interesting conversations that way. That's a good possibility. We'll leave that up to you and perhaps your imagination at home. What was one thing that you begged your parents for as a kid and they finally gave it to you?
A skateboard. This was before skateboards were big, but they forgot conveniently to give it to me on Christmas. And I found it tucked away somewhere in a closet where they forgot to wrap it and put it under the tree. And now maybe they had second thoughts about giving it to me and forgot to get rid of it, but I found it and got it. So I eventually got it, and the circumstances under which I finally obtained it will remain lost to the mists of time. But they bought it, and eventually it found its way into my hands.
Wow.
I'll tell you about the one I never got.
Sure, go ahead.
A BB gun.
You shoot your eye out, kid.
Exactly.
Is that true? Was it the same one that character was begging for in A Christmas Story?
No, I wouldn't have wanted anything Western. I would have wanted something more military.
Well, that's fair. I can respect that 100%.
Because Combat, I don't know if you know the show Combat. Combat was a TV. That was my favorite TV show as a kid. It was a World War II drama. It ran for, I don't know, 5 or 6 seasons with what was his name? Oh, the guy who's unfortunately died in the filming of the Twilight Zone remake. His head got cut off by a helicopter.
Oh my gosh! I'm sorry to hear that for that individual person. I can't remember the name of this person. If anyone knows this, let us know in the chat.
He played Sergeant Saunders, but Combat was a great World War II drama, hour-long drama. But so I was into playing Army, not cowboys and Indians.
Ah, I see. I see. Respect. All good. No worries about that. Now, what do you do when you want to get out of your own head?
A walk in the woods.
Hmm.
And you kind of lose yourself.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with being one with nature, taking a stroll, kind of, just let everything go. Just take a deep breath, take a walk for a bit.
It does kind of make you forget about whatever it is that's on your mind. And that's necessary every once in a while. It's, some people will turn to some really unhealthy practices to try to lose themselves. But a walk in the woods is perfectly natural and healthy.
Couldn't agree more, good sir. We want to take this opportunity to thank Charles Santino for being our guest on this week's episode of And I Quote. Charles, what projects do you have coming up, and where can everyone find you online?
Indiegogo, Rammur, Rammur. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I do Twitter a little bit, Instagram as well. And but Indiegogo is the place where you can throw money at me, which is very, very important. Even more important is that you get Rammur when you do that. As far as other projects, there's a few things that I'm pitching here and there. I do webcomics currently for Edgar Rice Burroughs, the Tarzan people. Mm-hmm. I'm not doing Tarzan or John Carter. I'm doing some mainstream stuff that Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote in the 1920s, adapting it. These are mysteries, soap operas, and things like that. A couple other things in the works that way too early to talk about them, but there will be there'll be a follow-up to Rammur. That's done. It just needs to be lettered. I probably will get that published right before New York Comic Book Convention next October. Number 3 is being drawn. Number 4 is being written. So Rammur's going to be there for the long haul.
Well, there you go. Congratulations on all the success of Rammur so far. Look forward to seeing it where it goes in the near future. Once again, thank you for being with us here, Charles. My name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. You can follow us on all forms of social media simply at It's Nerd Culture. New videos are being posted each and every week. Try to give the best nerdy content to cater to your nerdy heart's desires. So don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. And don't forget to go to poddex.com. Use the promo code NerdCulture to get your own set of pod decks to gamify your podcast. And don't forget to check out our friends over at HWWS Web TV. They got a great gamut of shows led by a great roster full of superstars. So in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, read comics, and support content creators of all shapes and sizes. Have a good one.
I'm GW Pomager.
I'm Dina Marie.
I'm Sage Ia.
I'm Thomas Carter Rochester.
Hey, I'm David Thompson.
Hi, I'm Kevin.
And I'm Mia.
Hi, I'm Mark.
Hey there, this is Dave Adams.
Hi, I'm Rosemary Rose.
Jerome Conner here.
Hey guys, it's Josh Bauer.
It's Willow Schuyler.
I'm Cosplay Michael.
Abba. It's your boy Country.
I'm Ryan Permison.
And I'd like to ask you guys,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Please
subscribe.
Subscribe.
Please subscribe to HWWS
Web TV.
Great bunch of people.
And don't forget to smash the bell.
Ring that bell.
Smash that bell.
Hit that bell.
Hit the bell to be notified.
Hit the bell to get notified of new shows
and videos.
You're going to want to do that, so do that soon.
So we can cross that 20,000 mark.
And get us to 100,000 subscribers.
To 1 million, and 10 million, and 100 million.
On HWWS
Web TV.
You really like it. I guarantee it.
Thank you.